I wanted to get into some of the most common arguments that I hear people say when they bring up the fact that there is no genocide going on in Gaza, because often I hear these written about or spoken about unanswered, kind of in a vacuum. So I wanted to pose some of these to you to get
Mm.
your response. So the most common one that I hear for there being no genocide in Gaza is that the IDF, no doubt, is committing horrific war crimes, shooting children, killing journalists. It might even be systemic, but most Palestinian deaths come from Hamas using human shields or just as a byproduct of urban warfare, like high civilian casualties. Israel gives warnings to civilians. What what would be your response to someone posing that argument?
Yeah, and just the other day, Netanyahu was interviewed, and he said if Israel wanted to carry out genocide, it could do it in an afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people would also cite that as an argument. They would say if Israel has the firepower to kill 80% of Gazans in days or weeks, why haven't they to this
Yeah,
point?
or drop an atom bomb, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, um, the mere idea that you say, well, 50,000, 60,000, maybe 100,000, maybe 3% or 5% of the population, and starving the rest of them, that doesn't a genocide make. If it were 500,000, maybe a million, okay, then we can talk about genocide. So the mere pattern of thinking like that, right? That's, by the way, like Khalifa. For him, 50,000, that's pretty reasonable. If you said to him, but that's genocidal thinking, he'd be appalled. Of course not. He's not in favor of genocide. It's just 50,000 people, and none of them belong to his family or friends, right? So
Yeah.
the mere way of thinking is bizarre, but also it reflects a complete misunderstanding of what genocide is about. That's what we talked about. That is, genocide does not mean that you have to kill a majority of the people. It means that your goal is to destroy the group as such, and you
Mm.
can do it in various ways. You can kill members of the group, right? You can cause harm to members of the group. You can create conditions that would make life impossible for members of the group. You can restrict births in the group. All of those things are genocidal actions. But you don't have to show that you killed 30% or 40% or 50%. Uh, that's a complete misunderstanding of what genocide is about. There is an argument, which is sort of in part of what you were alluding to, that um, um, it's all because Hamas is using the population as human shields, right?
Mm.
And in Israel, it's very common to say, well, yes, it's terrible that they're dying, but it's not our fault. It's
Yeah.
Hamas's fault. All these poor children who have died, by now 19,000 children.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, it's a conservative estimate. That's not our fault. That's
Yeah.
Hamas's fault, right? So we killed them, but it's not our fault that we killed them,
Yeah.
right? Because it's Hamas. So the logic behind that is that uh, you are saying that if you are fighting an organization that is built in a very small territory, which is very densely populated, and you decide to destroy that group, that organization,
Mhm.
the only way you can do it is through genocide. The only way you can do it is to do to it what you claim it did, or at least planned to do to you, right? Hamas tried to do genocide on Israel, not that it was capable of it. Obviously, it's no match to the IDF, but let's say it tried. The only way you can destroy them, that organization, is through mass killing, and it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's their fault.
Yeah.
Uh,
In response to the Hamas using human shields and hiding inside schools, this isn't my original idea. I've heard other people say this, and I think it's an apt comparison. Is that let's say you have a school inside a densely populated city. I'm in Brooklyn right now, in New York City. Let's say that down the block, there was, God forbid, a school shooter came inside the school and just started shooting kids. It doesn't matter how many kids that shooter killed or how many hostages he took to protect himself. The police would never drop a bomb on the school as a solution. I don't know what the solution would be, but they would figure out something to go in and strategically do what they had to do, even though the numbers of deaths would climb as they were strategizing. They would never say like, "All right, like let's just drop a bomb on the entire thing."
Right. So there are two aspects to this. One is the situation you describe, if it happens in war, uh, could be a war crime. That is, and that happened multiple times in Gaza now. So you have a school in which there are several hundred people. They're there because they're using it as a shelter because you displaced them from their homes as an army and you told them, go to that school because your homes are no longer safe. We are fighting there. So you put them there. Let's say there are
Mhm.
200 people there, men, women, children, old people. And now you identify or you believe that under that school there's a tunnel. And in that tunnel, there are 2 or 3 or 5 Hamas militants.
Mm.
Now, what do? If you take a 2,000-pound bomb and you drop it on the school on the assumption that it's big enough to go all the way down and kill those militants in the tunnel under the school, that would be disproportionate use of munitions and could easily be considered a war crime because
Mm.
you know that you're going to kill large numbers of civilians. If you do that as part of a pattern, and your overriding intent in everything that you are doing is not simply to kill Hamas, to destroy Hamas. Your overriding intent, as you had expressed it before in many other contexts, is to destroy the group as such, then this would not only be a war crime, and would not only
Yeah.
be a crime against humanity because you're killing large numbers of civilians, you're exterminating civilians, but would also become part of a genocidal pattern.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yes, it's apt to compare that to what obviously the US Air Force would not be called in to bomb a school in which there is a shooter. You wouldn't bring in an F-15 or an F-35 to bomb a school with all the children in it. Um, but that's not a war situation. In a
Mm.
war situation, you might, and there are, even in laws of war, you have to take into account that there may be civilian casualties. The question is of proportionality.
Mm.
That is, how many are you willing to take? And we know, because now it's all come out, the IDF uses, the Israeli Air Force uses all kinds of calculations of that sort. So if you identify some commander of Hamas and you want to take them out, how many people can die, innocent bystanders? How many do you allow yourself to assume could die? And they change that from 5 or 10 or 6 to 20, 30, up to 100,
Yeah.
which explains why at the beginning, certainly at the beginning, with the massive bombings, bombing those Hamas leaders in their homes, where it was easier to hit them, right?
Yeah.
Not in the tunnels when they came home and they live in apartment blocks.
Yeah.
That explains why the number of civilians killed was so high.
I mean, yeah, by that logic, if you want to take out 5 Hamas insurgents, that allows you 500 civilians of bandwidth
Correct.
to take out. That's crazy. Hey guys, if you like this clip, there's a lot more waiting for you. Join the Zach Show 2.0 to unlock the full video and audio version of this episode, plus bonus content you won't find anywhere else. Exclusive AMAs, the entire back catalog of premium episodes, and the ability to submit topics and questions for future shows. Subscribe today at thezachshow.supercast.com. I'll see you there.